Order online at picassospizza.net.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Train Wreck Sports podcast where we are here to pay the bills, presented by Picasso's Pizza. Jake Micah, joined by Mike Bunt, AJ Cebulski, Carson Hayek, as the Buffalo Bills walk into Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was a tale of two halves. First half, all of us, every single one of us here, crashing out to the highest degree. And then at the end of the game, feeling pretty good after a 26-7 win where the Bills dominate on the ground. That's where we'll start today because Carson, I'll start with you. What your reactions on the game a couple days later as we sit here, what you thought as the game went final, but also to talk a little bit about that run game. We'll talk a little bit about James Cook and just how far, and this is, we talk about this Steelers team. They're not very. They're team at best, right? And the offense for that team, just a complete mess. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't stop Joe Brady from Madden spamming the same plays over and over again, no matter what they tried to do. But how far can this run game take this Bills team? And what did you think of the performance on Sunday with the tale of two halves that they showed there?
Well, for starters, I think we have to talk about the importance that the victory that the Bills had. That is a big time game. The loser of that game was going to be bounced out of the wild card. You look at the Steelers; they're battling right now for the AFC North with the Ravens after having a huge lead. The Ravens are starting to push back a little bit. They drop it against the Bengals. For us, the Texans would have taken our spot bare minimum, and that's a big time win. The importance of that win cannot be overstated. I just think right there that boosts your odds. If there was any doubt that the Bills might miss the playoffs, which I know some Bills Mafia definitely did have, I think that should be at least quiet for now, which is a good thing. You get a team right now with Cincinnati who they get their franchise quarterback back, and they're coming off a nice win. We'll talk about them later, but this is no gimme week by any stretch of the imagination. And at least going back to Sunday, the run game, they didn't need to use the pass game whatsoever. I thought on third down when the pass game was needed, I thought they were efficient when they had to be. It was nice to see Brandon Cooks get involved right off the rip with the 13-yard catch. I thought the wide receivers, we saw, wide receivers weren't really thrown to a ton. Gabe Davis got, 2 or 3 targets. Shakir had a drop or two. Cooks was out there. But the run game is the story of the day. 249 rush yards, most the Steelers have ever allowed an opponent at home to come in and do. They ran the football 63.5% of their dropbacks or something like that. That's the most that the Bills have ran under, or fourth most the Bills have ran under Josh Allen, I believe, according to Next Gen Stats or something like that. And they were moving the ball well. They dominated the line of scrimmage. Huge shout out to Alec Anderson, Ryan Vandermark, those two guys. They were on everybody's red flag list entering Sunday. What are we going to do? They have TJ Watt. Their edge rush is still good. You pair that with a few other guys that they have, and they held their own. It was a minimal snap count right in the passing game, and it was clear the Bills were trying to get the football out quick. But they did their job, and more importantly, they were more effective in the run game as well. They played a huge role in that absolute dominant effort. Those two guys are nasty offensive linemen, and it always goes back to the old saying: if you're an offensive lineman, you like to go forward instead of backwards. That's why a lot of the linemen prefer running instead of passing the football. And they're moving bodies left and right. The zone blocking run scheme was pretty much unbeatable, and they ran a lot of duo as well. Tyrell Shavers was used as a lead blocker a lot. He's just incredible in the run game. Reminds me a lot of Matt Collins. I think he's kind of taken over that role. I would like to see him get a little bit more targets in the passing game, especially after that Tampa Bay game. He hasn't really gotten any looks. But also the Bills got the running backs involved in the passing game. James Cook was used as well. Ty Johnson had some big-time catches. Ray Davis made his first actual imprint on offense and not special teams of the season. And then defensively, real quick, just very impressive performance. The last game and a half, this defense has looked really, really solid. I think Shaq Thompson is a big reason why that's happening. I think he knows the system. As McDermott said back in Carolina, he knew it. Trey White's playing some really good football right now. Joey Bosa, the strip sack is just an incredible play right there. Turn the tide of the game. And then Mason Rudolph comes in and throws the interception to Christian Benford. Benford's looked real sharp, and it was just a great outing for the defense. And that's what happens when the Bills have the offense for 42 minutes of the game, and they have the ball in their hands. Overall, though, I think the run game, you look at Philly last year. They win the Super Bowl, 29th ranked run game in the regular season. The passing game was pretty solid for 29th ranked passing game in the NFL last year. I think they had like the third best run game or something like that. So it's been done before, and it's a recent history, but also at the same time, the other 4 Super Bowl champs before them have had a more of a dominant passing attack and a lesser run attack. So I don't know how far at times when it comes in the playoffs, the Bills passing game, they're going to have to make plays, especially on third down. They don't have to be as consistent as they've needed to be in years past, I think. But regardless, your passing game is going to have to convert on timely downs, get you out of some holes at times. And if they can do that, and they can rely on the run game, stay ahead of the downs on first and second down, the run game probably could carry them to a divisional or conference championship. I don't think the team's there yet for that Super Bowl caliber, like we all probably think here. But if the run game can perform like they did against the Steelers, that's a great sign, and hopefully they can carry that when the weather gets bad and they're playing some tough opponents. Excuse me.
Yeah, I want to start with the offense real quick. I think I like Joe Brady's game plan in this one. Now, this isn't going to work for every team, right? I think the spamming of the plays, the predictability, teams have exposed that in the past with the Bills, and I think that's hurt them. But in this game against a Steelers team that just didn't have any answers with the way the Bills wanted to run the football, utilizing the tight ends and wide receivers as blockers, really forging that identity in the trenches. Aaron Comer probably did a great job this week preparing that unit for this kind of mentality in the cold weather against an AFC North opponent. They really just established a line of scrimmage and were able to run the ball very effectively. And that's kudos to what the Bills have kind of been all year, right? That's been their identity. And that's what they're best at is running the football. So I think when they're able to do it like they were, and Joe Brady has the simple game plan that sometimes works wonders when they're, taking care of the football, especially you saw it in the second half, you're going to get good results. The quick passing game, not putting a lot of pressure on Ryan Vandemark and Alec Anderson. Anderson was a little quick feet in the beginning of that game, 2 false starts on critical downs that really set the Bills back, but he really stepped up after that. And did a really good job. They set a rushing record for an opponent in that stadium. So obviously their execution and their game plan worked. And I think it helped knowing that they were playing a 41-year-old on the other side who had a broken left wrist that really didn't scare you at all to put up points. So they could stick to that run identity and not get away from what they like to do. So offensively, Joe Brady's game plan, good. It worked. And I think that's something that, they need to lean on more, but I think they're going to have to also be able to adjust if teams do take that away. They're not going to be able to spam the same play over and over again in January against top teams. I'm not saying the Steelers aren't, but they're 2-5 in their last 7 and are going down I think the Mike Tomlin fire path at this point. I think they're on the verge of blowing the team up. Darius Slay asked for his release today. I think they're a mess over there. The culture, James Harrison's calling out. I just think the Steelers are in a very bad spot. But again, I like the game plan. Defensively, shout out to that defense for really sparking the offense. I know the offense scored another, 26 points, had a good game. They figured it out a little bit in the second half, but Christian Benford, scoop and score, sets you up with a nice touchdown to start that second half, gets you all the momentum. Next drive, you get great field position off a defensive turnover. The defense is going to need to do that this year with the lack of explosiveness from this Bills offense. And, the wide receivers only had 5 catches for 32 yards in the entire game. So that is still, for me, I know they're missing Palmer, but besides that, that's the unit for the rest of the year. Samuel's done, Moore's gone. This is the guys they're going to have: Cook, Shavers, Shakir, Coleman. This is the group they got. I still need to see more from that, and that's what still has me concerned down the stretch against better opponents and better defenses. But all in all, the defense, Shaq Thompson, I thought was great. I think he's great off the field. He was really a leader, stepped up this week. Sean McDermott talked about it during the week about how he really wanted that nastiness in the run game. Shaq Thompson told his unit. I think they responded well on the field. I think he's a better option at middle linebacker than Terrell Bernard at this point. I don't even think Terrell Bernard is a middle linebacker in the NFL. To be honest with you, I think he's better as a weak side linebacker. That's my opinion. And I think Milano is also playing better because of Shaq Thompson. I think Matt Milano is able to kind of play more of that rangy lateral where Shaq Thompson's kind of able to, get upfield. He's kind of more of a downhill linebacker. So I think they kind of like play off each other a little bit better. So I'd love to see more Shaq Thompson. Benford's been unbelievable. Defense needed to do what it had to do. And still a lot of concerns, still a lot of questions. But as we know, the AFC is we don't know what's going to happen. No one really knows. So as long as they get there, they'll have a chance.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff right there by the two of you. It was one of those games where the first half was nerve-wracking, a little bit sloppy. But even when things weren't going right, the Steelers weren't able to generate anything offensively either. So even though it was frustrating in the first half and a lot of us were crashing out, including myself, it never was out of control. It was more, is the Bills offense going to be able to finally put something together? And how long is this Bills defense going to be able to hold everything together? And once they started the second half with the strip sack by Bosa and the Benford recovery for a touchdown, you knew it was game over at that point. It sounds crazy, but the Steelers just couldn't generate anything. They ended up with, I think, around 170 yards, but going into the fourth quarter before the one late drive, they were under 100 yards. So you really have to give props to the Bills defense. I know the Steelers offense is trash, but the Bills defense shut them down. They won that game more than the Bills offense did. And as a head coach, it's funny going in because a lot of people in the first half were killing Joe Brady for continuing to run the same run concepts because the Bills weren't scoring and the passing game was a little bit sloppy. And then the same exact thing that he was getting trashed about in the first half is the thing that after the game, everyone was praising him for. It was having a concept, seeing that his opponent couldn't stop it, and then not trying to be cute about it and just sticking with it. And I think, and this isn't just a uniquely Bills fan thing, this is just football fans and media in general. We're all kind of hypocrites here because when he gets too cute on a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2s, everybody's like, why? You have one of the best running backs in the NFL and you have Josh Allen at quarterback. Why not just run the ball? And then this game, he just continued running the ball and they have success. And I think a lot of our reaction is more based on the result. It's result based, not based on the actual, the thought and the strategy behind it. Because you look at this game, really the thing that held the Bills back in the first half, there was two things. There's self-inflicted mistakes, the interception and the fumble, and then some false start penalties. Outside of that, the Bills were running the ball effectively in the first half. They just struggled to get the passing game going, and that's probably going to be an issue for a lot of their games this season. But we need to start acknowledging, and we said this earlier in the year, when the Bills have it going with their run game, they might have the best rushing attack in the NFL. And the talk early in the year was, well, why do we run the ball so much when you have Josh Allen at quarterback? And then they kind of went away from it. And that's when some of the struggles started to happen. They go back to it, and they just absolutely demoralize a Pittsburgh team. They're killing clock in the process. They're shortening the game. And I don't know. When I think about, how are you going to win in the playoffs? That's how I believe you get it done. You got to run the ball. You got to get timely stops defensively, and you got to find a way to basically shorten the game. And if you're going to be a road team taking on teams like Denver, taking on New England, or even possibly the Colts, I don't think you're going in shootouts versus those teams. Denver has a really good defense. New England, like we'll see what they look like come playoff time against a good opponent. I think the run game is going to be important. Now, I'd like the passing game to get a little better, but it is what it is, and they're not going to get magic receiver help. We just have to hope Dalton Kincaid can provide a little bit more. Josh Paul,
that Brandon Cooks catch though, that was some magic help right there. I mean, big play.
Brandon Cooks might provide marginal improvements, but the big thing I think is what I think the big thing I'll say is this: the defense has the chance to be the wild card between now and the playoffs. Do any of us have high hopes that the defense is going to find itself? No. But if the Bills' run defense can be average or just slightly below average when it matters, that's going to drastically help them out, because then they'll be able to help their secondary in passing situations. And if Ed Oliver returns for the first round, that can make a difference. I just think there's still some hope for this defense that it can maybe be salvageable, because the difference with this defense this year in the playoffs versus previous years is they used to get tormented by the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not going to be playing the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs this year. It's going to be New England, Denver, Jacksonville, or Indy, or teams, or Houston. So I look at all those teams and I'm like, the Bills shouldn't allow 30 points to those teams. Those are the type of games you allow 20 to 24 points. If the Bills offense does their job, they're going to be in every one of those games. So I don't know. I'm in this weird spot to where I could see the Bills losing by 20 in the first round of the wild card round. And I could also see them winning 3 straight and going to the Super Bowl. And I don't know which side I'm leaning more towards at the current moment. And the one last thing I will say, I love your point about Shaq Thompson. And it frustrates me with Terrell Bernard that every time he leaves the field, the Bills' run defense looks like the best it's been. The Bills' defense looks like the best it's been. Every time Terrell Bernard leaves the field, the Bills' defense looks magically better.
Yeah.
I hate saying it, but the dude is not a good – he's not a good player. He might be a leader.
I wouldn't go that far. But.
No.
He's banged up.
He's not a good player. He's been in the league. What is this, year 4, year 5? How many years has he been an impactful player?
Is it as much that him and Milano are they redundant?
In his second year, Bernard has been nothing. He's supposed to be a quick.
So what do you think about Rousseau then?
Well, here's the difference, AJ. The advanced metrics love Rousseau, and advanced metrics think Bernard stinks. So Bernard doesn't look good on film. He doesn't look good in the metrics. He doesn't look good to the average fan. Like Rousseau, you can say, well, he doesn't get enough sacks and that he doesn't make enough flashy plays. But then every single grading service and advanced metric says, oh, he gets pass rush. Oh, he does good with this and that. So Rousseau, you can make an argument because there's people much smarter than us defending the player. But Bernard, outside of cover 1 talking up Bernard, I haven't heard anybody across the NFL ever be like, Terrell Bernard's a great player. Matt Milano at one point was a great player. He's just older and lost a step. But I feel like we tried to anoint Terrell Bernard like he's the next Milano. And he's not. I'd rather have Tremaine Edmonds out there.
And that's what I wonder is if Bernard and Milano at this point with where Milano is at, clearly lost somewhat of a step, but still can be effective. Has looked effective with Thompson and when he's healthy. If there's redundancies to what they do on the field, and that's why when Thompson's out there and he's such a different style of player, and like you were mentioning, AJ, he's such a downhill guy. He's more just a more traditional middle linebacker compared to what the Bills have been putting out there the last couple of years. That just having that kind of I keep doing the 6'7" thing. It's gonna happen all night long. It's really bad, guys. I was with teenage cousins all weekend. It was a long time. So I just wonder if that's part of it too. And I want to share this stat about the defense specifically too. It's not just specifically related to the linebackers, but about them if they can figure some things out, what this team looks like. This is from our friend Chris Trapasso here. defense per drive, points per drive allowed for the first 6 weeks was 2.2. After the week 7 bye, they're at 1.84. And for context, last year it was 2.15 during the whole season. So since the bye, they've improved on what they've been for basically a year and a half on that. Now, can that stick? Who knows? But there's signs and there's trends pointing towards the fact that this team is finding something. And I think a lot of that has to do with the play of Shaq Thompson. Now, it's not just about the redundancies among the linebackers. You mentioned it, Carson. Bernard's been banged up this year too. He's got a lot on his plate with the green dot and running the defense. And I think at the beginning of the year, you're watching the film and everything, you could tell that he was having issues getting the guys into place. Having Poyer back added into there kind of helped that out on the back end, but Bernard was still not able to make the plays. I think part of it is just that it was crazy to me, at least, when we're in the offseason. People were like, man, maybe Shaq Thompson's a cut candidate and everything else. Like, Thompson's a little older, had some injuries the last couple of years. But that guy's a baller. And I think he's just being able to stay mostly healthy, playing in a system that he himself has said he wanted to get back into and thought he was effective in, playing with Sean McDermott. I just think that all of us collectively as a fan base kind of underrated how good this guy could be when he was put into this position and after getting some reps and kind of the confidence and everything else. And I think it's telling, the fact that Sean McDermott asked him to speak to the team and just be that leader on the defense and bring that kind of edge that they needed, because they played with an edge on Sunday, just bringing the physicality to that's the one of the things that they did. And that was a big trend of last year, and it hasn't happened as much this year. Just being a bully on the sides of the ball, and the Bills were a bully on Sunday. I think a lot of that has, especially the defensive side, Carson, has to do with the play of Thompson and what he brings. But like, how much does just having one piece like that and just one guy, and I'm talking about mentally as much as anything else, bring to a defense when you have to, have a specific mentality and attitude on the defensive side of the ball to be effective?
I think it's big, especially if it's your middle linebacker. Like, he is the quarterback of the defense, right? So he's going to be your guy that sets the tone. He's your guy that calls every single, doesn't literally call it, but he calls in the play to everybody else in the defense. He's the guy that you look to for communication, especially, and he also helps the defensive line. If they're in the wrong gap or technique, he's going to shift you over. He's also the guy that's going to check you in and out of stuff, depending on audibles at the line of scrimmage from the offense. A middle linebacker is extremely, extremely important. I think Terrell Bernard does a really nice job at the communication aspect for the most part, along with the fact he's one of two guys on this team that are a captain. So clearly, I think that says a lot about what he does in that locker room and also how the coaching staff and management views him. It hasn't been his best probably year and a half recently. He's been banged up and he's been dealing with some stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens. Maybe when he comes fully back, maybe they do put him at a will linebacker like AJ, like you said. Maybe he doesn't see the field at all. Maybe he gets his starting job back. Somehow, some way, they're going to have to find a way to get Shaq Thompson on the football field, because right now he's making it really difficult for you not to have him out there as one of your starting 11 players. And I, for one, and we didn't see him a lot in preseason, so we didn't get a grasp on what type of player he was. I thought he could have been a player that could have been cut. We didn't hear a lot from him in camp. Like I said, with the preseason, and then dude just shows up and he balls. At first, it was special teams with some limited snap counts, and then his snap counts start to go up. Injuries happen. And he's just become a true tone setter. Sean McDermott, even in the press conferences, we're just not going to get out physical. Like, I don't know really what kind of changed in the last 2 weeks where all of a sudden we're going to be – that's our new PR slogan. But right now it's working. Houston, I wouldn't say they out physical us, at least when they were on offense. I thought the defense especially held their own, especially in the second half. They were a reason why we were in that game. And then against Pittsburgh, complete different story. Pittsburgh doesn't have the football for very long in that game, and other than really one drive where they had a short field, defense was lights out. The Bills' offense only scored 19 points in 42 minutes of possession, and then you see a fumble six, a fumble, forced fumble by Joey Bosa, which was incredible. I think that's what is either I want to say he's got 6 maybe this year or something like that. He's on pace, though. I think he tied the franchise record with Aaron Schobel. And then Benford looks great. The secondary as well. Just everything looks to be better right now. Poyer's doing a nice job with the development of Cole Bishop. It's all starting to come together, I think, a little bit. Whether or not that's sustainable, I think that's a different question.
You got to talk about the secondary.
You have to.
It's night and day different.
Definitely.
What it was at the beginning of the year. And like, you want to know why there's potential for this team to be dangerous down the stretch? It's because how often were we talking about the safeties being absolutely abysmal at the beginning of the year? It was a weekly conversation, daily conversation during camp, during the preseason, during the start of the regular season. And I know like PFF grades, we're going to have let's not take them too seriously, but like, let's be real. PFF grades are what kind of helped us indicate that Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano were playing like trash and that Shaq Thompson was playing really well. And then as we've seen more Shaq Thompson and less Bernard, suddenly the defense looks better. So like for all PFF grades are trash, spare me the crap with that. Yes, they're not the best tool in the world for like receivers and running backs, but PFF grades are very decent at times with certain defensive players. And when you look at some of the PFF grades, they actually kind of highlight what the strengths of your team are versus the weaknesses of your team. Jordan Poyer, the guy that Bills fans didn't want to see on the field at all, and they were all upset that he signed to the practice squad, his PFF grade right now is 69.1. He's ranked 34th out of 95 safeties. He had almost 100 tackles last year. Turns out Jordan Poyer might have been what helped save the Bills' defense, because not only did Jordan Poyer not only is he playing at a decent level himself, but Cole Bishop is a 76.5 grade. Cole Bishop is the 10th ranked safety in the NFL. So now safety went from being maybe the weakness of this team to arguably the strength of the defense right now. You look at Christian Benford in the last couple of weeks. Benford was struggling to start the year. He just had he had easily the best game he's had all season, but now he's starting to get to some respectability. And I know AJ hates when I bring up Rousseau and Joey Bosa, and AJ's going to be fuming when he hears this. But Rousseau grades as the 9th best defensive end in the NFL, according to the PFF. Now we can all say that's a little crazy, but like, let's say he's not the 9th best. Let's say he's the 30th best. That's still like a number like 1 defensive end on an average team. And then you got Bosa, who ranks 21st with a 79.2 grade. So you know what I'm hearing from this? And Shaq Thompson, he ranks 6th among all NFL linebackers right now in PFF grade. So like, you know what I'm hearing from this a little bit? I'm hearing on the backside of the Bills defense and in the edges, they're starting to get a little bit stronger. They're feeling more confident in their safety room. They're feeling a little bit more confident with their corner room. Trey had his best game of the season against the Steelers. And then you're getting you got a little bit of a pass rush in a timely moment against the Steelers. Ed Oliver comes back. You're working with something. And I know AJ's about to probably lose his mind. He's grinning and all that stuff down there. He's trying not to laugh. But it would be the ultimate irony this year if the Bills make the playoffs and their defense, which is having its worst year under McDermott, ends up having its best playoff appearance while the Bills have a run-first team. And somehow the Bills win and get to a Super Bowl by having a run-first great defensive performance based on complementary football, which goes against everything that this team was built to do for the last 5 years. But like, it would be the ultimate irony if that's how they get it done, because that would mean everything that Bills fans have been calling on them to do during the McDermott-Allen era, it was the exact opposite that won it. Now, I don't trust they're going to make a run, but like, you're seeing the defense showing a few signs.
Mike, and I get what you're saying, and I'm happy, they shut down Aaron Rodgers. I am. But we also got to remember this defense gave up 21 points in the first half to Davis Mills, like how many days ago? So like, I get your point, and I understand that Benford had a really good game, and Bishop and Poyer are looking good. I think Poyer's looked better than I thought. I think Trey White's quietly. I agree with you that it was Trey White's best game as well. But you also have to remember you're probably going up against one of the worst receiver cores and a 41-year-old quarterback in the 30-degree weather and the cold. And they gave up 21 to Davis Mills.
But AJ, what were the stats at the end of the day? At the end of the day, Houston had like 270 yards.
So I know, but you were ripping the whole defense apart 2 weeks ago.
It's a complete picture. A football game isn't 30 minutes; it's 60 minutes. And as Carson put out the last 6 quarters, the Bills' defense has allowed a total of 10 points, and they've allowed a total of 210 yards, 220 yards in a 6-quarter stretch. So, I get it. Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of 5 years ago. He's washed. He's not that great, but at the same time, you're the same person praising the New England Patriots for destroying all these other shit teams on a constant basis. That's what the Bills did. They took care of a Steelers team on the road that beat the New England Patriots. So I'm not going to be here saying, well, they did it against a crappy Steelers offense that did have some good moments earlier in the year, or that they did it against Davis Mills when Davis Mills the week before he played the Bills threw for around 300.
No, you were just going into that game saying how it'd be unacceptable.
No, because let's be real. We all talk down backup quarterbacks. And yes, I don't think there was an excuse for the Bills' first half performance against Houston. It was a horrible defensive performance. What I'm trying to say is it's not about what you do from week 1 to week 18. Bills fans should know that firsthand. There were several years the Bills have had top 5 defenses that when it mattered the most, they didn't step up. So regular season performance is not indicative of what you're going to see in the playoffs. The Chiefs have had horrible defenses with Mahomes at times. Then in the playoffs, come up with timely plays and timely takeaways. The Cincinnati Bengals, the year they go to the Super Bowl, they didn't have an elite defense, but their defense shut down Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and the Bills' offense when it came to playing us in the playoffs in Buffalo. That's what I'm trying to say. At the beginning of the year, you would look at this defense and you would say they're toast at safety. They're okay at corner. We like the linebackers, and we're hoping they have a good defensive line. Well, what has been proven wrong? The linebackers suck. The corners are okay. And the safeties now are playing pretty solid. The defensive line depends on the day. But the fact is this. 1 month ago, you would have looked at the defense and you would have said they have no chance of stopping anybody good. Now you go into December saying if Poyer and Cole Bishop continue to play the way they have, and you have Shaq Thompson at linebacker, and Benford can give you a little bit of an edge, the defense at least has a shot. And the biggest difference is we're not going to be asking them, most likely, to shut down Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow in the playoffs. There's a chance for that Lamar Jackson could come into play, but we're talking about Bo Nix. We're talking about maybe Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Drake May in his first playoff action ever. So we need to hold that into account. The Bills' playoff defense has good numbers outside of when they play Kansas City. When they allow around 24 points a game in the playoffs since 2020 or 2019. Kansas City allows 23.8, and they have 3 Super Bowls during that span. The difference being the Bills just can't get past Kansas City. But if they don't play Kansas City, then it could be completely different.
Well, yeah, no, I think my point is this. Sorry, Jake. They went 30 up to Miami, 32 up to Tampa. Davis Mills scored 21 on them, and then they had a good week against Pittsburgh. I need to see more until I'm convinced that I think they played well on this game, but if you look at the last 4 weeks, I still think now maybe Shaq Thompson is the difference. I know we talked about that. Maybe he is. Maybe if you get Bernard out of there, Shaq Thompson can get that run defense to the 20th best, like you mentioned, and not be really, really bad and the worst in the league. But I think to say one game over Pittsburgh against Aaron Rodgers in that game, I think it's premature to have the thought that, this defense can rebound. I need to see it against a Joe Burrow this week. Their next 2 games will really tell me a story more than a New England, a Pittsburgh game. They beat an opponent they should have. They took care of business, but they still 30 against Miami, 32 against Tampa.
But AJ, that's the point is when it comes to the playoffs, they're going to probably play some offenses that are not that far off.
No, I know
like,
that. I'm not
like,
I know that. I understand.
This is the thing I'll say. Like, in analytics and everything, like, there's good ones, there's bad ones, there's things that are helpful, there's things that hurt. The Bills right now are 13th in the NFL in points allowed. We treat this defense like it's the worst defense we've ever seen. They are 13th in the NFL in points allowed. They allowed 21.6 points a game. Do you know what they allowed last year? 21.6 points a game. They're allowing literally the same exact amount of points right now as they did last year at this point.
Like, and if we're just talking counting stats, they do have the best pass defense in the NFL, which is, I mean, it's not everything, but it's not nothing.
And then 2023, when they were fourth in points allowed, there was 18.3. So they're 3 points a game worse than when they had the fourth ranked points allowed defense in the NFL. But you know what the Bills did that year? They scored 20. Let me see right here. They scored 26 and a half. So they were plus 8 points per game that year. This year they're scoring 28, so they're plus like 6.5, plus 7. They're literally like their scoring margin is 1 point off what they were 2 years ago. So like the point of it being like, yeah, the defense ain't as good as when they had Poyer and Hyde and they had prime Milano and prime Trey White and all this stuff. The defense is not that bad though. They are not like the biggest difference in the defense this year is that they're not creating the same amount of takeaways as they did last year. If the Bill, like honestly, if the Bills defense just found some of their turnover luck that they had in previous seasons that they've had the entire McDermott tenure, you're looking at a team that would probably be one of the most dominant in the NFL down the stretch. Like they're beating we're saying this is a bad year of Bills football. And they're winning their average game by like 6.3, 6.4 points a game.
Dude, you said this is the lowest you felt during a Bills season since.
I agree because they have a lower floor. They have AJ. You see, the thing is, you attach yourself too much to like this stuff without seeing like the full picture. Like this is the lowest I have felt about the Bills since 2019. But the reason being, they are not going to win the division. When was the last time they didn't win the division? 2019. So I'm being very literal that this is the lowest because they are going to have to go on the road. It goes back to what I told you guys earlier. If the Bills have been here the last 5 years, Kansas City has been up here. So when the Bills have been playing nearly perfect, there was still a team that was better than them the entire time. So everybody thinks the Bills need to play here to win a Super Bowl. But New England and Denver and Jacksonville and Indy, they are not up here. They are right here. So if the Bills are here and those other teams are all right there, that means if the Bills do find a little bit of their game, if they can get a little bit better turnover luck, if they can protect the ball a little bit better, if they can improve their pass rush, none of this stuff is guaranteed. The Bills, according to the metrics, when they're playing at their ceiling, are probably better than any other team that is going to make the playoffs in the AFC this year, outside of possibly Baltimore when they're red hot, or Kansas City if they pull a miracle. But that's the thing I'm trying to say. Like the Bills' difference between this year and recent years is their inconsistency. So if the Bills bring it for 3 straight Sundays in January, they could make it to the Super Bowl. If they don't bring it, they could lose by 20 points to the Ravens in the wild card round. Yeah. But we don't know that. Like that's the whole point. I'm trying to say, AJ, like
that's fair to come around.
Like, that's what I'm trying to say with this team. It's what I'm saying. Like the defense.
Yeah, I told Carson earlier. Yeah, I don't know if they'll beat Cincy in New England Bowl. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no clue what's going to, we don't
know. The main point is we have not seen the Bills clicking on all cylinders at all this season. Like even when they got off to their 4-0 start, they needed a miracle against Chiefs Baltimore.
I think
they didn't play their best against Miami on Thursday night or the Saints on Sunday at 1:00. They've had some clunkers on the road. I don't think we've seen a complete Bills team the entire season. And despite them not being complete the entire season, their passing metrics are basically the same as last year, minus their turnovers and their interceptions. Their run metrics are better than what they were last year. Their secondary advanced metrics show that they're still decent in the secondary and actually getting better. And now that you got Poyer and Bishop back there, they're actually tackling a little bit better as well. And you might be getting Ed Oliver back for the playoffs, depending on what his recovery is. The point is, like, yes, like going on the road as a wild card is going to suck, assuming they make the playoffs and they don't have a colossal collapse. But there's also an argument to be made that a wild card team that potentially might go through Pittsburgh, Denver, New England might be an easier path than what they've had in recent years, where they're playing Baltimore and Kansas City. Like, I would rather be a wild card and go Pittsburgh, New England, Denver than be a 1 seed playing Kansas City as a 7 seed and then playing Baltimore as the 4 seed in the AFC Championship. Give me the 3 road games against 3 teams that I have zero confidence in, like, and versus Kansas City and Baltimore in those situations.
I think that touches on a point that we have talked about during the summer, doing all the way through this season. And this is a good point here too from Walter, is the goal to get past the Chiefs or win the Super Bowl. That isn't the same thing. You get to the Super Bowl against the Rams or Seahawks. This defense has no pass rush. Okay, fine. You get to the Super Bowl. It's one game. You never know what's going to happen in that one game. We just saw that I would still say the Rams are the best team in the NFL. They're not infallible. They just played a horrible game on the road against a team that they should have beaten by, and any other stretch, everybody would have expected them 9 out of 10 times to beat that Panthers team. And they messed up. Matt Stafford threw up all over himself for the whole game. They lose that game. So really getting to the Super Bowl, you see what happens after that point. We talked about this extensively. And then Carson, I want to go to you with your thoughts on the AFC, and then we'll kind of go around there and just talk about that deeper. That the issue has been, there has been a certain mental block to the KC thing. So when you look at this road and you just think about what this team is going to feel like going into the playoffs, and they have to go, and the confidence that they, like, listen, we've talked about it this year too. This Bills team is an extremely emotional team because Josh Allen is an emotional player and they drive off of that. They told you that on Sunday. Josh literally told you that, yeah, we got going a little bit after I'm talking back and forth with Cam Hayward. Like, they're not the even keeled, just stone cold killers that go out there and they're the same level every week. They go up high, they go down low. You can see it on their body language, you can see it how they play, you can see how they act on the field. I think that it speaks a lot to the fact that this team, and it's something that means a lot in NFL history, is having that playoff experience and having these warts and being through these battles and being tested like that. If this playoff field sticks out the way it is, just as it is right now, that's the team. The Bills are the team who have been the most tested out of that whole field. The Bills are the team that have been through these wars and been through these moments where you're down by a couple points in the playoff game. How do you respond? And have responded in different cases. And it's not something we can quantify, but it matters. And that's why you have to feel good when you're talking about a playoff run, like as Bunt's saying, like if you're going through Baltimore, Denver, New England, or Jacksonville, or wherever it is, like none of these teams have proven anything. And in fact, we've seen a couple of these teams in these big games, and we've seen them kind of fall all over themselves, but more than winning games. And while the Bills haven't gotten it done against Kansas City or gotten to the Super Bowl, they've gotten through hairy moments in playoff games against various teams, whether it be Baltimore, whether it be, Miami a couple years ago, in games that they should have had been handling more better than they did. But the Colts in 2020, like they are just an extremely battle tested team. And I think that breeds a lot of confidence and brings a different mentality when you enter a field that looks like this with the inexperience across the board in the AFC, Carson.
Yeah, I want to go back to the first 4 weeks of the season and how we were talking. We start 4-0. Everything looks great. This is the Bills' year. Burrow's hurt. Casey is sputtering if we're even being generous. The Ravens lose Lamar for a bit. They're not going to get the number 1 seed. Yeah, and I said this, and I'm still by this. If the Bills don't get the number 1 seed this year, that's a disappointment. And to a certain extent, yeah, like that is a disappointment, but it's like a team that has low expectations and is maybe a game away from making the playoffs. Like even right now, Carolina, like they don't know what a good season is for them. Well, you're there, so now you have to do something with it. So I think all else, previous expectations kind of go out the window in this sense. But I feel like this season is almost like the 2023 season, right? The Bills are 6-6 at that point in time. Ken Dorsey gets fired, Joe Brady takes over, and then the narrative becomes, well, the Bills are entering the playoffs playing their best football. What's going to happen this year? What ends up happening? They come up short. I believe it was to Cincinnati that year. Funny enough, we play them, this week, right? So it's similar. But to me, like the whole stereotype there and the storyline was, well, the Bills are playing their best ball. Nobody else looks that good. Like KC was sputtering a little bit during that time too. And ultimately they came up short to Cincinnati too. But it's almost like when we were saying when they were 6-6 a few years ago, just get in and then see what happens. And we're taking that game by game basis. There are a few tough losses, and then they come back and play really well. So to me, it's just get in. I don't know if you could say the same about this group this year though, because I get what we're saying with our team maybe doesn't have the same floors we had years past. When we stink it up bad. At the same time, though, like I do understand the point that the AFC East is unproven, or AFC in general. It's difficult to get a true gauge on because I feel Baltimore round 1, they're starting to get healthy. I get they're coming off a bad loss, but like when they're on their game, that's a team I still don't want to play against.
But
Denver,
Baltimore has to play New England. They have to play Green Bay. They have to play Cincinnati again, and then they have 2 against Pittsburgh. Baltimore is probably losing at least 2
Who
more.
wins that division then?
That's what I'm saying. It likely is Baltimore. Like they have, according to the New York Times model, a 64%. But what I'm saying is this week has about a 46% variance in their playoff probability.
So
if Baltimore wins this week, they go to 72%. If they lose against Pittsburgh, they go down to 26%.
Okay, so let's play it by the book. Let's say they get in. They're just as battle tested as us, in my opinion. You just talked about that schedule right by the end of the season. I just think it's difficult. Like I don't think there's
healthy. Is Lamar has had a hamstring, he's had a foot, and he's had a toe injury. It's obvious watching him right now that he is not 100%. He is not running laterally like he normally does. He is missing on his throws. They're dealing with the same weapons issue in Baltimore as we are in Buffalo right now, except for the difference between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson is this. Josh Allen, when he's limited as a runner, he can still beat teams with his arm. Lamar Jackson puts up great passing stats, but he doesn't put up great passing stats because he's an elite passer. He's an average passer with a good arm who gets guys that are mostly open all the time because teams are afraid to defend him where they're basically rushing him and giving him lanes to run. And then he gets enough time in the pocket where guys are running wide open. But when teams aren't scared of his legs, that means they can defend him regularly, force him into being more of a pocket passer, and then he struggles. That's why we've seen them struggle in the playoffs. What happens to playoff Lamar? He starts making uncharacteristic throws. What happens when he plays Kansas City? When the refs stop calling holding and they stop calling pass interference all the time, his receivers aren't getting open. He doesn't get it done. Like what's going to happen if he has a hamstring and a toe injury? Like, is that going to just suddenly get better next week? Is that like the more he takes?
Right. I get your point. I do get your point. My point is here is no matter how you slice it, we've seen every single situation happen before. Besides either 1, the Bills in the 1 seed, or 2, the Bills in the wild card when the Bills pre or post software update. And I'm not talking about like the Houston when we lost to Houston in the wild card. Like that, I don't really count that, right? Like we're a complete different team than we were 5 years ago. I'd say like the last 3 years, we haven't seen a team go on the road. So I think this presents a new situation, and I think you have to somewhat welcome it, especially with the teams that they're all question marks, including Baltimore. I think Baltimore is the team that could be the scariest out of the bunch when they're hitting. But it's interesting. Like talking about the AFC picture, it's just been interesting all year long. And I feel like whoever maybe this year has the identity, as Tony Romo said, like he said it numerous times during the game, whoever has an identity could have the best chance at possibly coming out with this thing. But at the same time, those best teams shut down the identity, and whoever is able to shut down the opposite team's identity probably has the best chance to go to the Super Bowl. So it's difficult. Like the run game's so good, but at the same time, like if we can timely convert in the passing game when it's needed, which I don't see happening. It's just I feel like it's still an uphill battle. I don't want to change just because we beat the Steelers 1 week. I'm fully against the roller coaster. I've been saying it all year long. To me, this team is the same as it's been the last month.
Yeah.
Let me throw this at you guys. This is a question for all of you guys. In my personal opinion, part of the reason why the Bills lose against Kansas City in the playoffs is not that Kansas City is a better team, but because this team personally has demons. They're aware of their history against Kansas City. They know what they typically do in big moments against Kansas City. And I think that plays a role in their situational execution in big moments. We choking away 13 seconds, losing on a last-second field goal where you miss a guy that's wide open in the end zone. Then last year, having a chance to tie the game with a field goal or win it with a touchdown, and you can't do anything in that moment. The whole situation leading into that, you're doing fine moving the ball. I think this team has a level of arrogance and stubbornness when they go against other teams. This Bills team is not afraid of going up against anybody. But against Kansas City, there is something in their heads mentally that hits them in the biggest moments. You can credit Kansas City, but I don't think it's just Kansas City. I think it's also a little bit of Buffalo choking in big moments. I think there's an element of going into the playoffs with no expectations, with the thought being we're playing New England, we're playing Denver, we're playing possibly Jacksonville, that this team could possibly have the mental edge in these games. Now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but if this Bills team is playing freely, that can be the difference between making that big throw in a moment or not. And let me ask you guys this, because I truly believe not playing Kansas City it's not just about the matchup. It's about the mentality. And the reason I bring this up is being a road team might be exactly what this team needs to really just shake those demons off and be like, what the hell do we got to lose? Like, it really might be what loosens them up to play a stress-free, us against the world vibe. Like, when have the Bills been able to be like, everybody's doubting us, no one is giving us a chance? It's never that way. People are saying you're a Super Bowl favorite or you're the number 2 favorite behind Kansas City. You just got to get past this one team that you haven't beaten in 5 years. Well, if they're not there, like, it's a different story. I'm not saying if anything's going to happen, but I'll let Jake, I'll let AJ, Jake, whoever wants to start, and you guys respond to that, because I truly believe there is, in sports, at least in the low-level sports I've ever done, the more pressure on you, the more likely you're to do something uncharacteristic. And the less pressure, normally that's when you look like an MVP or a star. When I'm bowling, I can bowl 9 strikes in a row like it's nothing. But then when I go in that 10th frame and I'm trying to get a 300, my legs start shaking and I throw a 9 count. So I'm just saying, I think with a guy like Josh Allen, there's a little bit to that.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I get your point, and I do think mentally – maybe not even mentally, because I don't know where they're at mentally. Like, I don't know how mentally tough Allen is. I'm not doubting his mental toughness. I'm not doubting Sean McDermott in the big moments, but they've never been able to overcome the big moments. And I know it's been against Kansas City most years, but they did lose to Cincy. So it's not just been Kansas City. They've lost. And I know a lot happened that year. But I think about this year, like, I get your question, and I know that these teams – Kansas City not being in, which I still think they are, even though the math doesn't say so, I think they're going to win out. And I'll live on the hill, and hopefully I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I think the Bills, like this year at times, they were minus 1,000 to win the division. If they beat New England in Week 5, when you're a favorite to win the 1 seed, and whether they do, they laid an egg at home. They've played down to their competition against Atlanta and Miami. They had a game against Houston where Houston was really playing for their playoff life. If they lose that game, they're probably out. Now Houston's back in the mix at 7-5, and you enter that game with a lot of pressure on yourself as well. So as much as, yes, Kansas City has been the factor, I think the Bills, if you look at this year, they had a huge opportunity in front of them, And you can frame it any way you want. You can say, well, this is the year that, the Bills maybe can go on the road and do it. Maybe this is what the team needs. Well, maybe this is the year where the Bills need to play the Chiefs at home. Maybe that's what the Bills need to get over the Chiefs, is they need to play them at home. Well, maybe if the Bills get by the Ravens, that'll propel them to get by the Chiefs on the road, and that's what they needed to get it done. You can frame it however you'd like to, but history says that they have failed, and it's just been against the Chiefs. And I think this year they had a huge opportunity in front of them. So not only, I know the Patriots got really hot, but if they win that game against the Patriots, they're still front runners doing the division. And I think they're going to miss out on an opportunity. I get your point. Maybe hosting it might be worse because you're playing tougher teams, but I'd still much rather have home games in Highmark Stadium where they're very, very good this year than go on the road 3 straight weeks against great defenses and serviceable offenses and expect to get it done when they've been a bad road team all year.
Let me ask you this then. If the Bills play their brand of football, do they beat – I'll go team by team. If the Bills play their brand of football and they don't let the Patriots dictate the type of game, the Bills bring it. Do they beat the Patriots?
If the Patriots bring their brand of football, do they beat the Bills?
But we don't know what the Patriots brand of football is.
We don't know. I don't know what the Bills brand of football is, though. You're talking about the years past. I'm talking about this year. I do not know what the Bills.
We know what the Bills brand of football is. The metrics are pretty. The metrics are pretty obvious on what the Bills brand of football is. Any fan saying they're confused about what the Bills are.
So what is it?
The Bills are a dominant run team. Do they turn the ball over? You asked me what the Bills brand is. I'll tell you what the Bills brand. They're a dominant run team that is an inconsistent passing attack that, despite having one of the worst passing attacks of the Josh Allen era, still ranks as a top 10 passing attack in the NFL, with a quarterback that still ranks as a top 5 advanced metric quarterback in the NFL, with the worst group of receivers in the NFL right now, and a tight end that's been out, and a new receiver that they're trying to adjust to. So right now they're missing their number 3 receiver. They're missing their number 1 receiver because Dalton Kincaid isn't playing. They just released their number 4 receiver. The number 5 receiver is on IR. They're trying to implement Gabe Davis from the practice squad to playing in games. They're literally playing with the worst group of receivers like mid-season ever. So is it going to get dramatically better? Probably not. But you know what the point is? The point is, even with all of that shit I just said, they still rank as the 10th best passing attack in the NFL. So they are a run-dominant team that needs to find a little more consistency with their passing attack. Not a ton. Like, this team ain't going to suddenly be throwing bombs like Brian Dable, but they need a little bit more consistency in their passing attack. And then defensively, they are a team that is an awful run-stopping team that is built to try to stop teams' passing attacks. When their run defense gets average production, which it hasn't this year, they are able to get teams in long distances and sometimes create takeaways. When they get killed on the ground, they have teams in short yardage distances, and teams just keep running and pounding the ball on them. So what is this team? It is a great running team, inconsistent, but still statistically above average passing attack, with an inconsistent defense that, depending on the day, can step up or look awful, but normally at the end of the day allows between 20 to 24 points.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said it all year though, and I agree with you. You always said the margins have gotten slimmer. So that's where this year, I'm talking about this year, I cannot 100% say if the Bills play their best football with the talent they have on this roster, because I think this is the least talented roster the Bills have ever had in the Josh Allen era besides 2019. You've always said all year that the margins are much slimmer. The Bills can't play front runner football. They're not the same team as past years in terms of
No. I think you're misinterpreting my question. If we're saying this is the Bills' ceiling and this is the Bills' floor, and in the past this was the Bills' ceiling and this was the Bills' floor, you would say in the past the Bills were going to play between here and here, and it was going to be somewhere.
I don't know if the ceiling's just. I don't agree with you with the ceiling. That's where we differ.
The Bills' ceiling has to still be there. When they're winning games by 6.5 points a game still. Like, their point differential is still amongst the best in the NFL. A ceiling means what you are when you are at your best. When the Bills are at their best, they can still beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They can beat a healthy Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. When they're at their floor, it's much lower. So, variance-wise, if you're saying, can the Bills put 3 solid efforts back to back to back on the road? I would say Probably not, because if they're here and then the next week they're there, they're probably going to lose one of those games. What I'm saying, though, is if the Bills find a way to become more consistent between now and the end of the season, if the Bills bring their if the Bills bring their A game, where they're not turning the ball over 3 times, where they're running it for 5 yards a carry, and Josh Allen's throwing for 225 to 250, who is the better team between the Bills and the Patriots? It's the Bills. Who's the better team between the Bills and the Broncos? It's the Bills. Who's the better team between the Bills and the Jaguars or the Chargers or any of these other teams? It's the Bills. And that is what the point is. We can all disagree about what is the likelihood that they will bring it 3 consecutive Sundays on the road. That is not high. But the fact is, Vegas knows that. The metrics know that. And yet Vegas still has them tied with the Broncos in New England for the best odds of winning the AFC. Why? Because Vegas is telling you that they don't think the Patriots ceiling is here. They don't think the Broncos ceiling is here. They think the Patriots and the Broncos are here, and they think the Bills are here when they bring it. But they can't have the Bills as high favorites ahead of them because they know the Bills have a more difficult road because they're going to have to win 3 games while one of those 2 teams is going to get the 1 seed home field advantage, and the other one is probably going to have home field advantage besides it. So that is the point. In spite of all their challenges in front of them, Vegas still thinks that they have as good of a chance as their peers that have way better situations. That tells you what Vegas thinks of their team. The Bills are probably going to be the best team ceiling-wise in the AFC playoffs. It's just, can they bring it back-to-back-to-back games? And the answer is probably no.
If we lose this week, though, I just want to have the same conversation next week. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, it does come up to a lot of different. That's these next 2 games will tell us a lot.
Jake, you get what I'm saying, though. Like this ceiling floor, like I don't know why this is so confusing to no, I'm not saying this to you guys. I'm saying it to like fans in general. Like, I don't get why this is a confusing concept to people. Like, when you are saying a team at its ceiling, like the Cincinnati Bengals at their ceiling might be right here. Like, that doesn't mean
that's what I'm saying. You're
8-0 last 8 starts.
That's the point I'm trying to make. You don't know which version of these teams you're going to get in the playoffs. Just because New England is 11-2 right now doesn't mean that they're going to play like this when it matters. What if Drake May comes out, feels the pressure, and throws 2 interceptions in the first half of the game? Like, Lamar Jackson goes from being the greatest season that we've ever seen to a dude that's handing the ball over to Von Miller for 40-yard returns, to the guy throwing interceptions to Taylor Rapp, who this year can't even walk. Like the point of it is this. Why in the top 5 of NFL drafts or NBA drafts, they always take the guy with the highest ceiling and not the safest pick? They take the guy with the highest ceiling because if you're going to have an extremely good asset, you want to maximize what you can do with that. And if you can get somebody safe, this guy's a guy that averages 16 points a game and 5 rebounds, cool. Continue winning 30 games a year. Fine, your team sucks. Or you get the 7-2 guy who can shoot threes that can average, he might average 10 points a game, but if you develop him right, he might average 27 and get 12 rebounds. Like, you take the shot. What Vegas is telling is that the Bills are the highest ceiling. And we don't know, like, we focus, because we're a Bills podcast, we hyper.
They're the 3rd favorite to win the AFC, though. Why are you saying the highest ceiling? They're 3rd in odds to win the AFC.
But they're the top odds of winning the Super Bowl.
No, they're all tied. They're all tied now.
They have the same odds, if not better, than New England and Denver to win the Super Bowl on most books. The point of it is this. Like, the Bills are having a horrible season, yet they still have the belief that they have a path in front of them. Like, this team,
they do have a path in front of them. I believe we all can agree there.
But like, we hyper focus on the Bills. Denver Broncos AJ, you've been saying all season long that you think the Denver Broncos suck and are
I picked
overrated.
the Bills over Denver.
No, but this is the point, AJ. You've been saying all season that you think the Denver Broncos suck and are overrated and are just getting lucky in these games.
They are. They still are. They beat Washington by 1.
If that's the case, why should I be scared of them? They should be just as scared of me. And then when we're talking about New England,
I'm higher on New England.
No, that's fair. And I would probably pick New England as my Super Bowl favorites in the AFC right now. But the point no, but
Giants
the
are
point
making the playoffs.
New England has played two playoff teams the entire year.
Better FPI than the Bears, though.
The Patriots have played 2 teams that are currently in the playoffs the entire season. They have played 13 games, and they have played 2 teams that are currently in the playoffs. They have had 11 games against teams that are currently not in the playoffs. This might be the easiest schedule in NFL history. Their first 8 games of the year, they had what was considered the second easiest schedule in the NFL. Their remaining schedule was as of a couple weeks ago, was the easiest schedule in the NFL. Their last 8 games, their best win this year is against the Bills, and a game that the Bills outgained them and had 3 turnovers.
That Bills game in a couple weeks is going to be the biggest narrative bowl we've ever seen. In the last 5 years that we've seen.
If the Bills go into New England and they beat them, and then New England loses the next week.
Imagine the Bills win 38-7, just stops New England. No one's going to believe in that New England.
When have you ever seen?
No, that'll change. That'll change my mind.
Yeah. You want to know something crazy? The Bills are 8-4 and lost to New England, and they would need Miami to upset New England and the Bills to beat New England and the Bills to win out. In the other scenario, lose 1 game and hope New England also loses to Baltimore. Yet the odds still give them a 10% chance of winning the division. Do you know how wild that is? The odds still give the Bills a 10% chance of winning the AFC East when it should be 0% when you factor in all the data. That is what you need to know about what advanced
trust Tyrod.
This is the New England Patriots are Texas A&M of the SEC this year, where they played the 7 bottom teams in the conference, and their 1 game is against Texas, and then they lose. That is except for New England beat the Bills when they had their opportunity. The point being, the Bills against New England week 5, and I hate saying this shit, it was one of those lackadaisical, stupid-ass Bills efforts where they think they have a game that they're going to coast to victory, and they get cute, and they make stupid plays, and they think this is never going to bite us in the ass at the end of the season, and they give it away. That. Do you remember that New England game? The Dawson Knox end-around fumble, the Keon Coleman fumble in their own territory, the Josh Allen, I believe, had an
first drive interception. Yeah.
Drake May is having to improvise and make some of the craziest plays you've ever seen to get first downs. Drake May's breaking out of a sack.
Bills beat themselves.
The Bills beat themselves.
Of the Josh Allen.
But that's the point, though. When you're looking at who is better or not, can the Patriots beat the Bills when the Bills don't beat themselves?
I will say this about these 2 contenders too, because it's something that is a stat that it's betraying the Kansas City Chiefs this year, who were 11-0 in 1-score games last year, and I think they're 0-6 or 0-7 now. Denver this year,
they beat the Colts by 3, so they got to have 1.
Yes, you're right. They got the 1.
They were 11-1 last year, 1-6 in 1-score games this year.
Denver this year 8-2. New England this year 6-2. So you look at it against that soft schedule, and you're 6-2. So the fact that you're in 8 1-score games against that schedule, and that's including a Bengals team without Joe Burrow in that game too. There's reason to believe that these are softer teams, but that's the thing with New England specifically. I got Patriots friends in my life. They're all hyped up. Yesterday, I'm arguing, and I'll take this time to apologize because I was salty last night watching it, and I'm getting out there hyping me up. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Let's talk later. Blah blah blah. But he's like, listen, it's hard to win 10 games in a row in the league. Yes, it is. But we have to see more. We have to. And it's a great point you make about Lamar Jackson lights it up in the regular season, and then has been a bum in the playoffs for most of his career. I don't know if it might be Drake May. It might not be Drake May, but we just don't. No one's seen it yet. I don't know what that team. You mentioned earlier, what is that team's identity? I don't know. I was trying to think of that last night. I was like, what is the elite besides Drake May being like outstanding, like what is the elite thing? What's the thing you can point to? They have a great run defense, but again, weak schedule. Does that help things? Like it's a New England conundrum, Carson, that we really all have to wrap our heads around. If the Bills just had beaten New England that first time, even if New England was 9-3 or whatever, everything else still ahead of the Bills right now, we'd be at least have some confidence in what we can say.
You know what?
There's an L on that schedule.
The Patriots' Pythagorean win-loss record is 9-4. Based on their current stats, a team with similar numbers.
So a couple extra losses.
And that's with their schedule being as weak as it is. The point of it being, like, DVOA is one of the best at slotting teams into where they currently are. We've said this year the Bills are not the normal Bills. Do you know where the Bills are in DVOA?
Probably amongst the top.
No, they're ninth. They're ninth because they haven't played at that high level. So rightfully, we're lower on the Bills than normal. But do you know where New England is? They're 14th. They're 11-2, and they're 14th in DVOA. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. You're talking about a 1 seed, possibly, as a 14th. I checked DVOA Super Bowl odds, and they're different than Vegas because they're metric-based probabilities based on stats. While Vegas is weighing algorithms and stats also with the betting market and trying to get people to put money on the line. DVOA thinks that Denver is way better than New England. Like, DVOA gives Denver like
DVOA thinks Kansas City's way better than Buffalo.
Yes, but Kansas City might not make the playoffs. That's the point. Like,
who in the AFC is ahead of DVOA in the AFC for the Bills? Who's ahead of them?
Right now, you got Indy, who is 3.
So Indy's okay. So DVOA likes Indy more than Buffalo. Okay,
I think I like Indy more than Buffalo.
I do.
But they got Daniel Jones. That's the whole point. Like, yeah, they look good, but they got Daniel effing Jones as their quarterback. Kansas City is 6, and they're likely not going to make the playoffs. Yes, they could win out and make it, AJ, but it's not likely. And even if they do win out, they're likely behind the Bills. And then they have Denver 7th because of their defense. They have Houston 8th because of their defense.
There's 4 teams, according to DVOA, that are better than the Bills right now in the AFC.
So with the DV, what is the
point, AJ? The 4 teams are Indy, who's 3, who's currently right now a wild card team. Well, like, Indy has to play Jacksonville 2 more times. They have to play Houston again. They have to play on the road in Seattle, and they have to play San Francisco. Indy is probably going 10-7, best case scenario right now. Like, in Indy's DVOA is going to go down as they lose some of those games. Kansas City has a great DVOA, but know what they've done this year? They've killed some teams and they've lost close games. Know what that sounds like? Every Bills team to me the last 5 years. And then
those Bills teams have found a way, baby.
No, they haven't found a way.
To make the playoffs, yeah.
To make the playoffs, but they lose when it matters, which is why I said this wasn't the same old Chiefs team back in week 2 or 3, but you laughed at me at that point in time. Turns out I was right. I'm sorry for being right. And then
hit rate.
Then Denver, like, this is the thing I say about Denver. Denver has a shit offense, but their defense gets past rush. Like, that's the crazy thing. Denver's 7, Houston's 8. If you're talking about the top teams in the AFC being a Daniel Jones team, like, make him throw the ball. Like, make him throw the ball.
Can the Bills stop Jonathan Taylor?
You know what the Bills' strategy should be against Jonathan Taylor? Just you just go against worrying about nickel. Do everything but be a nickel. Just stop the run. Like, make Daniel Jones throw it 40
Have they been able to stop the run in base this year?
They also haven't been playing Shaq Thompson as a starting linebacker the entire season. Let's look at the splits with him there versus him not being there. It's going to look different. And the point also being, like, Houston, like, we look at some of these losses. Houston was a bad loss, like, no doubt about it. And they horrible scheme that day. No,
I think Houston was their best loss.
No, what I'm saying, horrible loss. It was a game the Bills should have won. Like, the Bills played horrible.
Like New England and Atlanta.
And like, even the Miami loss. Miami's on fire right now. Like,
they're back.
The point of it being, like, there's not that team that you can just look at and say, like, like in the NFC, you look at the Rams and you say, damn, that's a really good team. Like that team can win the Super Bowl. That team could make a run. But the problem in the NFC is you can also say that about the Seattle Seahawks. You can also say that about several other teams. You could say the Philadelphia Eagles have experience. You could say that the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers all have that level. Are you laughing because of the Bears reference?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, they just beat the Eagles on the road on Black Friday. They're not.
Well, the Eagles are.
No,
that's
but
a
like,
good football
but like
team.
let's put it like
for
The Eagles could turn it on like the Bills too.
No,
The
but like-
ceiling, Eagles ceiling
But
though.
that's what I'm saying. I do think the Eagles could do that.
Jalen Hurts.
Like that's the whole point, AJ. You talk about the Patriots like there's some next level team. I could say the same shit about the Chicago Bears. Like if I want to be a non-biased person, the Chicago Bears just beat the defending Super Bowl champions on the road on Black Friday, where they beat them by 2 scores in their house. The Chicago Bears,
Swift and the Monagani guy,
Monangai.
100 plus.
like,
Big running games.
but this is the point. Nobody effing knows what's going to happen this year.
Well, that's the thing with this year is it is just.
And that's why Mike just says,
it's-
if this happens, if Lamar does this, if
No, but like that's the point, AJ. You speak. No, this is my biggest problem when I talk to you on these pods and when we talk off of the pods. You speak in definitives all the goddamn time, and I'm trying to tell you, you are dumb to do that. You can't speak in definitives because none of us know anything. We're just 4 people on a
Baltimore
podcast.
Buffalo round 1.
Hedging.
We're just 4 people on a podcast saying stupid shit because it's interesting and it's fun to think about what can happen. The point of it is this. There's a reason why Polymarket Sports, check it out.
Check PFF out too while you're at it.
I was going to turn it into a promo, but I'm not going to. But there's a reason why Polymarket Sports, how many times do I have to say it until I get paid by them? There's a reason
Maybe
why
a couple more times.
at last check, Polymarket Sports had the LA Rams at 14% for the Super Bowl favorite. And then every other team was 9% or less. They don't know. Nobody knows. Like, there's not one dominant team.
New England, Seattle, Buffalo, Philly, all at 9% for the.
So, like, the one team everybody thought was dominant just went on the road to the Carolina Panthers and lost. Like I don't care that Bryce Young was playing. They lost to the Carolina Panthers. Like,
Hey, that could be the NFC South champions, Carolina Panthers.
but this is the point. Like, I what I think is happening is this. There's 2 things, and Mike Shope talked about it on GR this afternoon. The biggest reason why Bills fans are so much different on this team this year is because unlike past years, outside of the 1 year Miami, we were trailing Miami and it looked like we were going to miss the playoffs. We have another team in front of us that we're not going to be able to catch up to. And it's the aggravation that in a year that's supposed to be wide open for us, that's there for the taking, that we aren't good enough to just grab and take control of our own destiny and do it. But my counter to that would be, even if we were the 1 seed, it still doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get through all these other teams. You're still having to play the games and win the games. And that's the point when it's all said and done. People are trying to say this Bills team has no chance because of what is in front of them. And I would say you have a 91% chance of being right. There is, like right now, there's a 91% chance the Bills won't go to the Super Bowl and win it. But there's also a 15% chance they will go to a Super Bowl and represent the AFC. So, like, the point of it is, like, what's the average year, the Bills' probability of winning a Super Bowl? 20%?
1 in
like-
32.
Like, to start the year, but going into the playoffs, like what, 20%, 25%?
Yeah,
So
something like that. Yeah.
There's a 75% chance in a normal year you're not going to win the Super Bowl. So, like, everybody acts all mad every year when they don't go to the Super Bowl. When I pick Kansas City to go to the Super Bowl every single year because it's the highest probability, most likely thing to happen, then people are like, but Mike, you talk up the Bills. Like, no, like, I just follow the damn numbers. I don't have any – I just follow data. Like, and the data says in this open of a field, anything's possible. So anybody that's like the Bills have no chance, I'm going to be like, that's stupid. And anybody that says, well, the Bills are definitely doing it, you're also stupid. Like, the fact of it is, I can name 10 teams off the top of my head that given they make the playoffs, depending on where they're slotted, they would have a chance at making a run or at least getting to a Super Bowl. New England could get to a Super Bowl.
I can't remember who it was yesterday. Some dude tweeted out, he's like, I see realistically 20 teams that can win the Super Bowl this year. And I'm like, I mean, you can make the argument.
I think that'll narrow down when we get to
but like, let's go through it. Yes,
I hope it does.
New England,
Yep.
yes, they can get to a Super Bowl. Denver, yes, they can get to a Super Bowl. If Indy's a 2 or 3 seed, Indy could if they get hot. Buffalo can. Baltimore can. What if Houston wins the AFC South with that defense? Houston can. What if Kansas City gets a 7 seed? They can. I'm at like 7 teams in the AFC can represent the AFC right now. Then you go to the NFC. The Rams can. The
No
Seahawks
Jags love.
can,
No
the
Leo
Eagles
Cohen
can,
love.
the Packers can. I don't know about the Chicago Bears. The Lions can, but they also might not even make the playoffs.
No.
But like that's the thing. Like I said I could name 10 teams. I just named 12 teams. Like we
Maybe
just
you could
have
get
to
to 20.
like, what we have to do as fans is basically we have to accept and embrace this. The Bills have a 91% chance of making the playoffs right now. They're probably not going to win the AFC.
94% according to PFF.
No, according to the New York Times.
No, 94%.
94%. Okay. So the Bills have an above 90% chance of making the playoffs. They're probably going to be slotted somewhere between 5 and 6. And depending on where things go, they might play the Ravens in the first round. They might play the Steelers in the first round. Or the Colts.
That Steelers, they're cooked.
Or Jags.
Dude, stop saying the Steelers. Just stop. I can't handle it.
It's more likely the Bengals win out
We're
than the
done,
Steelers.
Mike.
They
They're done.
still have a 30% chance.
Toast.
No.
They're toast.
They're getting a 9-8 for Tomlin.
Do you know
They got the Ravens twice. They got the Lions. They're gonna lose to the Browns in Cleveland, bro. There's no way they can.
They're not losing to the Browns in Cleveland.
I'll bet it right now.
I bet my life savings. Shedeur Sanders is going to beat
Shedeur gonna dice them.
No, Shedeur Sanders is not beating. They put Shedeur Sanders in the games so they can lose out.
Hey, come on. He looked good against the Raiders.
Against the Raiders. I could look good against
wonderful.
the Raiders. You make me the quarterback.
Steelers have Thielen. Never mind.
Super Bowl bound.
Adam Thielen.
Carson, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think, yes or no, the New England Patriots are a Super Bowl contending team?
That's a no.
Well, I think it's where there's a variety of conditions. Like if they get the 1 seed, yeah.
That's not yes or no. That's not yes or no.
Well, I'm gonna hedge.
Yeah, go ahead and hedge.
Stop hedging.
It's conditional because if they get a 1 seed, yeah, of course they have to win 2 games. So yeah, like of course, obviously they're gonna. If they don't, though, like I still have my doubts. They had a kicker last night for the Giants, missed the football. Like that's only something that happens to the Patriots.
Have you ever seen that?
Are the Patriots beating the Ravens or the Bills in the divisional round?
I don't think they'll beat
Lamar's hurt, so probably.
I don't think they'll beat us. The Ravens maybe. Like it's.
Wait, you said you don't think they'll beat us? Carson has the Bills in the AFC Championship.
Well, I don't think I head. I like us when it counts. Like we beat ourselves round 1. Round 2, I think we're going to beat New England. And round 3, I have to give it to the team that has the history and the pedigree and in some cases the better quarterback. So when you need it most in the playoffs, I think Josh Allen is the better guy right now than Drake Van. It's just because of the snap count, the reps, the experience. So New England's a great team. I can see them making a run, but I don't know about Super Bowl. I'm not there yet. 1 seed, I think they're there. But at the end of the day, if they're outside that 1 seed, they don't secure the bag on that. I think
Carson, Denver at New England AFC Championship is New England winning. Carson doesn't believe in the Patriots at all.
Yeah, I think they do. I do think they do. Both of those teams are frauds.
Yes, that's amen. Thank you. And that is why the Bills.
I think the whole league's frauds. That's where I'm at.
The Jags are the 3 seed right now. Like if we're talking 1, 2, 3 Patriots, Broncos, Jaguars, are you kidding me? Like
let's be real.
I'm not proud.
I'll say this. I'll say this straight up right now. And I told you at the beginning of the year, this year felt different. And it certainly has felt different, just not for the reasons that I thought before the year. But if, and this is a big if, like the odds of this happening are not likely. So I should probably go on Polymarket and like bet this right now. If the final seeding ends up New England 1, Denver 2, Jacksonville 3, Pittsburgh 4, I'm picking the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. Like
that won't happen. So
no, if Pittsburgh somehow makes it as the 4 seed, I think the Bills will go to the Super Bowl. If it's Baltimore,
that's what we depend on. The Steelers. We are so cooked.
If we're playing Baltimore in the first round, we're going to lose.
No. You've seen Lamar Jackson play football in the playoffs.
Dude,
and
the
this
wild
year.
card shouldn't depend on if we're a Super Bowl.
You know what you guys love about me? I spend 2 minutes slamming the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and their playoff hopes. And then as soon as I mention the Ravens-Bills playoff matchup, the Bills lose by 10.
What's going to happen is Cincy's going to make it at 8 and 9.
Even worse. I don't even want to see Cincy.
That's why they need to beat Cincy this week.
Dude,
that is why they need to beat Cincy this week.
If the Bills play Cincy in the playoffs, I'm just going to wear a Burrow jersey. Like I'll need to reverse jinx everything.
Well, let's get into the Cincy of it all and get out of here. The Bills play the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Let's get our predictions, and I'll start, and then I'll go to Carson here. This is going to be, like we were just talking about, it's going to explain and infer a lot about this Buffalo Bills team. But the Bills, one of the best passing defenses in the NFL. And I think the key to this game is the same thing as last week. Cincinnati's defense is putrid. Just counting stats. You just look at their counting stats here. That's all. I'm just quickly looking at this. Total yards, they're 32nd. Passing yards, they're 32nd. Rushing yards, they're 31st. Points, they're 32nd. Third down percentage, they're 31st. The Bills are going to be able to have their way with them on the ground and be able to be physical with them. And while I think there will be some moments where Burrow and Chase, and if T. Higgins comes back, are able to take advantage of the Bills and get some plays down the field, I just don't like – if the Bills have the ball for 40 minutes again in this game, I just don't see how Cincinnati gets enough possessions and gets enough explosives to make it happen. Well, I think they get into the 20s and make this game interesting. I'm going to go with the Bills 28-23, get it done. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a stressful game. But I think at this point in the season, with where this rushing offense attack and rushing attack is and the way James Cook is going and the way this line is playing, against that kind of defensive line, and we already know Trey Hendricks is basically doubtful and basically out. I think that's the most elite unit in this game, and they take over that way, and then the Bills will get a win against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I just keep picking the Bills. I'm just going to keep doing it, guys.
Yeah, Dax Hill's probably their best player on defense when Trey Hendrickson isn't healthy. He's pretty good. Other than that, though, they got about 10 other Mike Bunts on the defense. So it's
what?
I will say, though, the last 2 weeks they played better. They're averaging about 20 points a game allowed. So we'll see. Like they've tightened up a little bit offensively. Burrow still scares me. This is a team we have. When DeMar went down a few years ago, that team seemed like they were going to struggle against the Bengals. Playoffs, they got dog walked by the Bengals. Year after that, Sunday Night Football wasn't a pretty outing. And this is the first time since those matchups that we'll be playing Cincinnati. For me, I'm a little worried about this game. Offensively with Burrow back, it just seems like this team's starting to get a little bit of momentum. Jamar Chase terrifies me. Whether or not we see T. Higgins, I still think is up in the air. But if we see him, that'll probably be an added issue, no doubt about it, especially when you look at Maxwell Harrison. He's looked great, but at the same time, minimal reps. There's also been a few plays where he has gotten beat by veteran wide receivers. And then Trey White, he's looked good lately. But again, this is a guy who's in a little bit of a different tier of his own. And they struggle to run the football on offense, which benefits the Bills, no doubt about it. But until we can beat Cincinnati, I'm going to have to roll with Cincinnati. Give me Cincinnati 31-30.
Damn. You're a hater, dude.
What are you at, Carson?
31-30, Cincinnati.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So I think this is a big game for both teams. I think Cincinnati comes into this game really fighting for its season. I think they're a team that they come off a huge win over Baltimore. I think their last 2 weeks, their defense has played much better football. They really played New England hard in that game. They held them to 26, what for their standards is good. And then they went, into Baltimore and did what they did on Thanksgiving on Thursday night, which was just, mightily impressive what they did to that team. And, it was really a big win for them and kept them alive. And they had their backs against the wall. And I think they're a team that can respond to that. I think T. Higgins will play this week. Zach Taylor said he was in good spirits in the locker room after and during the walkthrough or whatever, team meetings on Monday. So I think this is too big of a game where he'll get through concussion protocol. He'll play. That's just where I'm at. So I think T will be back for them. Obviously Hendrickson being down hurts them, but their defensive lines come on a little bit. Shamar Stewart's been a good player for them. They have some pieces there. So I think, and to Carson's point, I think the Bengals do have a recipe with Zach Taylor to expose them, whether that's in the passing game with Jamar Chase and with Burrow back. But I just think this team's going to play for Burrow. I think if they get by the Bills and the Ravens, their last 3 games are Miami, Arizona, and Cleveland. Those are very winnable games for this Cincinnati team if they get hot. And with the Steelers and Ravens schedule, they play each other twice, and they both play really hard schedules. I don't feel like the Bengals, even if it's very slim, I don't think the Bengals with the way this is set up in the AFC North, feel like they're out of it by any stretch. The Bills, they're going to have to run the ball like Jake said. I think they'll have some opportunity to be explosive against the Cincinnati defense. Hopefully they do. But I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one. I think the Bills have been an inconsistent team all year. I think they are fighting for their season. And I think the Bills right now, they're going to have to match that intensity. In games prior this year, I feel like they haven't in those games. I feel like they've kind of come in, kind of lackadaisical, and I need to see them show up for a big game at their place and get the win. So I'm going to go Bengals 28, Bills 24.
Okay, then. Jake, well, we know who the negative people are on this show right now, and let's put that down in the notes. AJ and Carson, you guys are no longer allowed on this podcast going forward. Mike Partham.
I've known since Carson picked the Jets to win the AFC East.
I always knew that Carson was more of a Jets fan. To be honest,
predictions have been horrible for me this year, so I'm just continuing
Carson's a Jets fan. He can't even get himself to say that New England's the best team in the AFC.
He believes it's
come on, man. You're picking against the Bills. You're picking against the Patriots. You're obviously just an upset member of Gang Green in New York. What's the Bills' record at Highmark Stadium the last 2 years, Carson?
It's record? 1 loss. I know that. That's it.
How many wins? I think it's like 15.
Something like that.
Yeah, 10-0 last year at home, and then 5-1.
He's jinxing them. Or he's going to go.
He's choosing Cincinnati.
He's picking Cincinnati too. Yeah, this is what's happening.
Excuse me, guys. ESPN's FPI gives the Bills a 63%.
Enough with the FPI. It's off.
ESPN Analytics gives the Bills a 63% chance of winning. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites. They're 15-1 their last 16 at home. The Bengals are 4-8. They are obviously a trash team, trash organization. And right now I have to think that the opinions of Carson and AJ are both trash. And for all of those reasons, I'm picking the Bengals 27-24.
Yep.
I hate you guys. I hate you guys. You know what the saving grace is? We have been so horrible at Bills games this year.
They probably will win now.
The fact that 3 of the 4 of us have picked the Bengals means that it's almost a lock. The Bills are going to win.
We got to be the only.
The last time you guys did this was week 1 against Baltimore, Bengals, and you were all wrong. So the Bills' record in December, Steve, since 2020, 18-3. I've had that stat ready for weeks. So just a team that
get ready for it to be 18-2.
Sure. Whatever you guys say. The Bengals defense, I want to say this. The Bengals defense was effective against Josh Allen with Lou Anarumo, who is no longer there anymore.
Jake, you didn't let me finish my point. The Bills aren't losing this game because they're not the better team or because they can't beat the Bengals. This is simply strategic from a seeding perspective. They know they're going to beat the Browns and the Jets, and they're going to beat New England next week. They're trying to avoid being that 5 seed so they can face the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round as a 6 seed and set up the scenario.
That's my dream scenario.
This is
where I'm at is where I think New England's such a fraud still that I still think the 1 seed is possible or a division winner is still possible. So I'm not even going out on that. If New England,
we keep doing this every week with the Patriots. It ain't happening.
Could you imagine?
They have not played anyone. Who have they played? I'm not moved by 33-15 over fucking Jackson Dart at home. I'm sorry.
You know what? I just want a scenario where the Bills go 12-5, so I can continue my statement with AJ at the end of every season, saying that something like 14 out of the last 16 seasons, I've been within 1 game on my prediction for the Bills. And
Dude, you're insane, man.
You are not. Man.
Insanely,
you are nuts. You are. I'm
insanely
sorry.
talented. Thank you.
You're nuts.
Good show, guys.
I'm getting this graphic sent over to Carson Gates immediately so we can get this posted as early as possible so I can see the comments again.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Roasting the 3.
Awesome.
It was the best.
Believe in this team.
For me. I can't believe these guys. We got to. Well, I want Partha probably pick Cincy too. We need 4-on-1.
Yeah.
Let me be the Adam Rank this week of just being the outlier here. So we'll go that. But all right, guys, we paid the bills. This is a great show. We got through a lot. It's going to be an interesting couple weeks here. We figured that out based on this, whatever happens in this Cincy game, and then heading into New England. So it's going to be fun. December football, can't beat it. We paid the bill. Shout out to our sponsor, Picasso's Pizza. Get your Picasso's Pizza anywhere nationwide and at picassospizza.net. Have a great week, folks. Go Bills.